that's.
Hold on.
Oh. I think it's streaming here, but wait. Could maybe capture or edit?
Oh, it's like, don't want to edit it. It says they're like on.
Yeah, I think it's on the YouTube side, man.
Well, I don't know what to do.
We need Ethan. Our channel. Someone's posting
Bad link.
weird, sketchy links on our website. Great. Create. Go live. There. Unlisted. Save. Alright. Try that. There we go. Alright, give it like 30 seconds.
What's happening to my calendar box? If I plug this in, it just completely broke. Yeah, there's like no wait.
Says it's unlisted. Let me see if I can grab the link for you.
Yeah, I think Ethan said sometimes it's streaming privately. You need to like make it public. There's a way of it.
Yeah, I made it unlisted. Let me see if I can grab the link for you.
You're gonna break this food thing. It's not gonna work on the website.
Here we go. Shoot. I don't know how I'm going to transfer that, though. Here, come here real quick. Alright. Come get this link, please. Zach.
There's a way to make it because we ideally want to use this link. Like there's a way to toggle it.
Oh yeah, you can change it to public or anything like that.
Yeah, like.
But that's the link right there.
No, this is a link that never worked, but I'll try it.
How's everybody's week going as we troubleshoot YouTube? Yeah. We're still
Why does
working
it have
on
to
it.
rain every Tuesday after?
I'm sorry?
Why does it have to rain every Tuesday afternoon on the way?
Good question.
On the way out. Was it last Tuesday that it like poured at a certain time? Yeah. Always underestimate Auburn weather.
Yeah, so this
Yeah. See,
I'll make it better.
yeah, so we tried this before.
Every time I'm like, oh, it's about to rain. Never know. What am I doing?
I think
So, do you guys have any questions about last week? Just out of curiosity. I wasn't here, but maybe you can fill me in on things that were cool or like you have questions on. Maybe some of us can answer something. Anything? Yeah, what's up? Okay. So we do have a live recording. There's a bunch of Discord notifications that happen throughout it, but it's like the entire meeting where we go through quite a bit, I want to say, and we're actually going to recap pretty quickly. Is it live?
Yes.
All right, so looks like we've got that going. is the audio working?
Yes.
Okay. So this is going to be an awkward presentation for a couple of reasons, but mostly because I don't like streaming and I don't like being recorded. But with that in mind, we're going to be going over offensive security. But before that, we're also going to be touching on one major event that we're going to be covering this semester called SecDec, or SEC-CDC, which is a pretty well-recognized competition. It's like an attack defense, well, it's mostly defense competition that happens, or is going to happen starting in February and go on until, I think, April with nationals. So last year we made regionals, but I think someone who is probably more suited to discuss this is John. So he and Morin are going to be heading this up. Maureen Baker, she's our treasurer. John over here is our secretary. He's going to be heading this up, and he's also going to be touching on memory forensics, which I think you're going to enjoy. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, take it away, and feel free to use this.
Yeah. So basically, I guess in terms of lecture, it's more of last week's, because last week's was primarily like defensive security and everything. But yeah, I did send out a Discord announcement. This is still the same slide from last week, so I'd already sent out a Discord announcement about that, and some of you saw it, plus talked about it last meeting. But yeah, it's a more defensive security oriented competition. It's a lot of fun. You get destroyed, you get memed on, but you learn a lot from it, especially kind of mentioned Windows and Linux administration, like how to tell what's supposed to be there, if there are things that are not supposed to be there, how to lock them. Like, oh, this Linux box has 300 user accounts. That's kind of weird. They're probably not supposed to be there. So just like, oh, let me figure out how to write a script to just lock all of them at once so they can't use them. So it's just kind of general useful things that will pretty much always be valuable, but it's really fun. You learn a lot. So I need to get out on the when to meet and talk with some of the professors that will kind of be working with some of the training, exactly what times we'll be doing that. Probably be like next week or something. Probably have more concrete details about kind of when training sessions are going to be and everything. And like I said with the Discord announcement, even if you're not necessarily interested in doing the competition, but you just want to learn stuff, you're more than welcome to come to the training sessions. Like, those are just kind of almost more information sessions where it's, if you're interested in it, obviously you kind of need them because it'll help you learn some of the skills you need. But like I said, even if you have no interest in the competition at all, it's still just some useful information that you can learn. So, yeah. So, with that out of the way, kind of cover what we didn't get to as much last week, which is kind of more digital forensics, specifically more disk and memory forensics. So, this here, digital forensics is the investigation, collection, analysis, and recovery of digital artifacts. So, part of the reason we do that is identify, preserve, collect, examine, analyze, and present. That's kind of the step process for everything. So you want to identify maybe what you need to save, like what data is important, what you need to pull out, preserve. Well, actually, that's kind of more preserve. I forget exactly identify at the moment, but once you figure out what data you need to preserve, then you collect that data, go through and examine it, and analyze it, and then you usually end up presenting it to usually kind of a less technical crowd. So, but yeah. So, why is digital forensics important? So, there's something called Locard's exchange principle, and it states effectively that the perpetrator of a crime will always bring something into the crime scene and will always take something out of the crime scene. And so it's basically a principle that's kind of every contact leaves a trace. So if someone's messing around in your system, they're either going to bring something in or take something out there's going to be some evidence that they were there and were messing around with something. And this is true for obviously both like digital and physical systems. So obviously like a physical break-in, there might be fingerprints or things like that. The same kind of concepts can be applied to digital forensics, where there might be a sort of digital fingerprint behind. So there are kind of three main types of digital forensics. There's disk forensics, memory forensics, and network forensics or network analysis. Now, last week, Ethan actually went over network analysis a bit more with Wireshark. So I won't be covering that as much, but usually in an investigation, when there's been an incident, you have a team that comes in, pulls all their data. They'll be looking at typically these three things: your network traffic, what was on the computers, and what was loaded in memory. So the first main thing is disk forensics. And it's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's just going through the actual an image of the actual hard drive from an affected computer. So typically what you'll do is you'll take your infected computer, take an image of that hard drive. So basically just copy the entire file system, everything on that partition, and you'll go through and analyze it. Now, one problem with this is, especially when you get into really large drives, it can take a very long time to take an image of it. So it's usually not a super fast method. If, say, someone's like in the system currently doing things, you may not want to take a disk image, but it's usually after the fact you'll do that. So some of the reasons disk forensics is important is, obviously, you could see everything that they had on the disk. So you can see all of their files, any programs they've have installed, and you can also recover, say, deleted files, because when files are deleted, they're usually not wiped off the disk. Usually just the reference to them is deleted, but the file information may actually still remain on the disk. So a lot of programs can actually go through and find deleted files and recover that. But yeah, you just get a lot of really valuable stuff from it, and it's not as much always a place to just start looking at things, but if, say, you have an idea of what you're looking for, like you're looking for a couple specific programs or a couple files that are being created, it can provide like a lot of valuable information. So the other thing is memory forensics. So it's kind of similar to disk forensics. You essentially just take a snapshot of what's in the memory of the computer. Now, the thing with memory is it's much more volatile. Obviously, the whole thing with memory is, say the computer is powered off, everything in memory goes away. So usually you have to be pretty quick with collecting that. If you wait too long to collect it, the information that you need could just be gone. So memory forensics may be a little bit less clear initially why you would want to use it, but it also provides a lot of really valuable information, because there's information that shows up in memory that does not necessarily show up on the disk. So you can view, like here, running processes, network connections, or even like commands they've run. So you can see, say you see on the disk, like, oh, there's this one program that you think is maybe suspicious, but then if you go in memory and you can check to see, okay, is this program actually running in memory or not? Same, you can also look for, see if like a program is actually running where it's supposed to be. So say you have like SVC host is only supposed to run under a certain thing. If you see some random program with an SVC host under it, that's probably not a good sign. It's probably not supposed to be there. And again, additionally, being able to see like command history. If some random person in HR started running command line things, that would be kind of suspicious, because no one would have any reason to do that usually. So, yeah. So I will say there's a lab with this. So if you've already downloaded the file, you already have the files from last week. It's the same zip file. There should have been 2 folders in it, one for Zach's malware thing, and then there should be another one for the memory forensic stuff.
My laptop.
this. Should this automatically kick over?
If you plug the HDMI, should.
I don't know if it's.
Was just operating it.
Is it showing on the stream?
Not over there.
Yeah, well, I was saying if it shows up on the stream.
Yes, it's showing up on the stream.
Wait, so how do I get it on here? Shouldn't it be the same thing?
Is it plugged into the?
So. It's just the one HDMI, correct?
Is there any weirdness with
No,
this? Okay.
maybe the transfer over.
Why is that not working all of a sudden? We shouldn't have issues with my VM.
This is the streaming laptop. This is the.
It is my laptop. Like, it shows up on stream, but
Yeah.
it's in there.
Ollie dot. I'll drop it.
It's yeah.
Alright, I just dropped it.
Did it show for a second?
Oh yeah, it would be delayed.
Why is it not? It's fine, but it doesn't connect here. If I disconnect that, will that break everything?
Probably not.
You're
Is
right.
the
Oh, let me see.
That's right. That should go out. Oh, it shows it for a second, but it goes away. Let's see how mine is configured actually.
there we go. It's good. You just
Oh.
unplugged it and replugged it.
Okay.
Nice.
Alright, cool. Alright, yeah, you can go here to download the files if you still don't have them from last week. So, just ob.ie /bootcamp pack files. It may take a second to download because it's semi-large. If you have those a little bit bigger. Yeah, and then once you download that, obviously you just unzip that. And like I said, it'll be in the forensics.
I want to leave your commands up for a second on the slide so people can chmod the script.
Well, I haven't actually run it yet. This is just for getting the main zip if people haven't done that yet.
Oh, I'm saying when they can run the script. First.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna say, so most people have. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh. Okay. I was gonna say, do most people have the files downloaded? Ready? This is just on like your Kali VM, so. Oh,
You got two modded?
that, yeah, it'll be this.
How do I trust
How do you trust
it?
it?
Well, Charlie and I wrote it. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say the author's right there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna say once
Good
you
luck.
have that installed, just +X, that, and then just it will need sudo, but should work, and that should install the tool you need.
Do you mind just increasing the font size?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it.
There you go. Sorry. So it should just go through and download everything, install it. Then, once you get that installed, you'll just unzip your data. Which might take a second, it's kind of a large file. Which, this is small for a memory file. I think it's like 600 megs or something. Actually, I think that's zipped. I think it's like 2 gigs.
It's like 2 gig.
Yeah.
It's like really small for.
Yeah, that's very small for a memory file.
So does anybody know what volatility is used for? What's it used for, John?
Well, volatility is a tool, really very useful tool for looking at memory images. It basically creates it's a nice way for you to do kind of what I talked about. It lets you see all the processes, commands run, network connections. It also lets you look at more kind of advanced Windows stuff like handles to processes and a lot of other stuff. It's a very powerful tool.
Do you think you can go back to the other screen?
Yeah, sure.
Zach, would you drop all those links into the courses?
That link's already in the.
Okay. Can you also add the instructions? Where's the what channel are you dropping like instructions to?
It's in general right now. Okay.
Has anybody ever done this before? Just out of curiosity. Only dabbled. There's something coming up in January that kind of focuses on stuff like this. Cyber fires. No, not the cyber fires.
Tracer fire?
Sandia tracer fire.
Tracer fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys end up liking this, we've got something coming up with Sandia. It's pretty fun.
Some people use TF10.
Yeah, it's probably TF10.
Maybe they'll have it worked out by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you're given an event. So while you guys are figuring this out and getting this set up, you're given an event, like an incident that occurs, and you're given a bunch of data, and you're trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, you basically have like, I think like a weekend. They do a couple classes at the beginning on Saturday, and then they basically give you like CTF style challenges that are kind of to help guide you since it's short. That are kind of like different paths, like follow this one like piece of malware or something, and basically you just kind of go through and build like a timeline of, okay, when did they who was it that sent the malware to them, and like what did it do? Like, they had this one thing where one of their products malfunctioned. What time did that happen? Like, go through the network logs and look at like this specific each product call and stuff. It's a lot of fun. I was gonna say, are most people at this step where they have the data and volatility installed?
I'm waiting on my stuff to install.
Okay.
Set at 98.
Oh, yeah. It might take a while. There's a lot of stuff that you need to put in.
So maybe, John, can you show us some of the stuff you can do with volatility, and maybe how you use it? We can kind of
Okay.
wrap around.
Well, that's kind of what this is. So running it, you'll just cd to where you have volatility installed. Yeah, and then to run it, you'll just do like python2 vol.py and then whatever else you want the things to be. So kind of the main thing you want to start off with volatility is you want to determine what your image is, like what OS version and everything, because different OSs and versions have different like memory structures. So this way, volatility will know where to look for certain things. So for this,
Printer is probably Python 3.
Yeah, I'm using Python.
The volatility is Python 2 only.
yeah, it's Python.
This
You-
version. They're
Yeah, this version uses Python 2.
There's like a nitty gritty reason why they do that, but volatility 2 uses Python 2.
Yeah,
There's no way around it right now.
you just kind of have to accept it.
Vol3's been in development for 3 years and still not the bar of Vol2. So that's why we use Vol2.
Yeah. Does it work on like memory templates? This section of memory means this is where this value normally is, and this section of memory is where this value normally is.
It depends on what you're trying to do with it. Different plugins do different things.
Okay.
So a lot of the plugins have the word scan in them. So if they don't have the word scan and they're looking in like certain memory locations, but they have the word scan and they're scanning through the entire thing for structures.
Okay.
So it depends on
Things that like match.
yeah, like there's
kernel structure.
there's like command scan which scans through anything that has the format of a command. Like there's a complex structure like even like Windows internals. But so yeah, there's a difference in the type of plugin you use.
Is that?
Yes.
Do you have your Kali OVA on a flash drive or something?
Well,
I don't have a
I may just keep going with this, and you can look back at the thing just in interest of time. I don't know how much time the rest of it will take, but
So we can
'Cause it's-
loop back around,
yeah.
answer questions as they go, but
Mhm.
in the meantime.
So I was gonna say this is kind of with volatility. Usually, your first command you'll run is image info, which, like I said, will get your profile and what volatility profile you want to use for the memory image. So that may take a second. Too long.
Also, just make sure you talk close enough to that Mac.
Oh,
So they can hear you.
I mean,
Sometimes it's
hopefully I'm loud enough.
internal. Yeah, I'm just
That for there we go. Well, so we have our returns from that. I was gonna say, what profile would you probably say is the one we should use for this? Just by looking at that. Well,
Do we have to follow their suggestions? What happens when we don't?
certain plugins will break.
yeah, certain things break.
Yeah, because it's kind of like what you're saying, like knowing where to look. There's different things. Like it's more lenient in Windows 7, but if you try to, I've done Windows 10, it's very specific on versioning. Like you have to have the right version or it'll break everything.
Yeah. I will say, typically when you run image info, you'll just kind of pull the first profile that it suggests, which in this case would be Windows 7 Service Pack 1, x64. So, go back to here. And so this is kind of how you'll run volatility. You can take a picture of this slide if you want to, just for...
I'll drop it.
Yeah, okay, if you're drawing in Discord, that's good. So you'll typically run vol.py Is profile equals? Wait, Zach, is that profile equals? Or it's just technical. Yeah. Yep. And then you'll just put whatever things you want here. So in this case, just a good one, PS list. We'll just list all of your processes that we're currently running in memory. And it just dumps a bunch of things, which this is useful for just seeing what's running, although sometimes it can be kind of hard to look at certain things because it just kind of dumps everything with not really a whole lot of organization. One that I personally like is PS Tree, which will display all your processes again, but more in kind of an organized thing. So you see like underneath win init.exe, all these services are running right here. So, I don't know, you can maybe look for anything interesting. See a bunch of SVC hosts, but those are running under win init.exe, which is where they're supposed to be. If they're running anywhere else, that's bad. So, looking through this, don't see any others. I was going to say, does anyone see any process that seem to have a bit of an interesting name that maybe might seem a little bit?
Search collect?
Search collect is interesting, but so search collect is actually a tool for collecting memory. So that's actually what, in this case, search collect. You'll typically see search collect. What's the other tool that's used to capture memory? WinPMem. So you'll typically see those in memory image files a lot because those are just used to collect memory. So obviously they'll be running in memory when it's being collected.
I was going to ask, how did you know to pass in the win something argument you ran all that type? The win 7 SP1?
That's from up here. So like I said, typically with volatility, you'll run image info, and that'll return like a list of profiles that could potentially be matches. So usually you'll just start with like the first one it selects, and if that breaks things, then try another one. So yeah, typically you'll run image info to get like what profile it is, and then you'll just use that profile for your subsequent commands. But yeah, so going back to this, there's something kind of interesting here. We see under wininit.exe something called main.exe. It's kind of a little bit weird. I don't know about you, but I can't really think of any main Windows programs, Windows services that are called main.exe. So, but yeah, so I don't think I actually have a whole lot more for this lab. This is just kind of it, just like a really short demo of kind of what volatility is and kind of what you can do. Like I said, you can get way more advanced with it. You can look up a lot of stuff about it. This is just kind of like a really basic thing of seeing, just kind of looking at processes and how even just looking at here, you can see like, oh, why is main.exe running under like the main Windows service? Like that's kind of strange. So, like I said, you can get a lot of valuable information with it. Yes.
So like, as the attacker, how do you prevent you from going in and seeing this? Like as like someone who's going in, like find that.
Like
How would you prevent like that you just finding main.exe and be like, okay, there's something wrong with that? Like,
one attack that's fairly common is like process replacement. So basically they'll have like, say it's running as SVC host on the disk and it'll show up as SVC host. But actually in memory, it'll be loaded as something. Well, actually, but that worked with them because we're looking at memory.
So it's like John said, that memory is very volatile and it changes. So ideally, you wouldn't want to be running, like, you wouldn't be viewable in memory for long. They would have to catch you really, in a very specific time slot. So you'd want to do something either, there's a lot of different vectors you could take, but like John is saying, there's like process replacement where you take over another process's memory, so it would show up as another like legit Windows process, and they wouldn't see it that way. Or you could spawn, do something to spawn your own Windows process. So like there's a lot of different vectors you could take, but the main thing is like memory is like one point in time. So if they don't catch you right at that point, then you're not unzip not work?
It should just be unzip.
Try 7Z space X.
Okay.
7Z's installed in Kali. Yeah.
First place you use was PS list, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say PS list is usually a good place to start. Like after you've determined all the information about the image. Like I said,
What was the second?
PS tree, which I will say if you run the good old TAC help, that will print out literally every plugin that Volatility has, which there is a lot of them.
You can install more.
Yeah, and you can install more. So there is a lot you can do with it. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that too. You can look at DLLs that are loaded. You can also look at registry stuff. Like, you can do a lot with Volatility. It's a really powerful tool, and like I said,
Yeah, I ran into that on.
there's a lot of different plugins you can use with it. And
Something weird with like getting Craig on Windows and coming to Linux with 7-zip panels and that stuff.
It's a 7-zip came on Kali.
Yeah, it's installed.
It's still whatever.
But yeah, and I mean, you can even do things with Volatility too. You can even say like take an exe and actually carve out the exe and pull the file out of the memory image and like analyze the exe itself. So say like in this case, we see that main.exe. If we want to see, oh, is this actually malicious? We could carve it out of there, say put it on virus total and see like, oh, if it returns this is malicious, then we can try to find out what it is from that, or open it and start our malware analysis part. So this is kind of just a step in the kind of digital forensics process and incident response. Like so.
Yeah, I just figured it was not that easy. I'm sure they had something better than that.
Yeah, it's usually not as obvious as looking under wininit.exe and seeing random process running, but it a lot of times, but yeah, it can be a very useful tool. Like, it's not only for processes. Like I said, you can use it for a lot of things, and there's like pretty good documentation on it as well, like pretty readily available. But yeah, well, I think that's about all I have for this. So it would be Charlie and/or Vicky presenting next.
Are there any other questions about
Yeah.
memory forensics or volatility, digital forensics in general?
Did everybody get to work with volatility who wanted to? Yeah? No? It's okay if you didn't. We can continue, or we can carry on to offensive. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the commands are in Discord as well. And like I said, if you just kind of run that with TAC help, you could see a bunch of stuff and just start poking around with random plugins, see what you can find.
Yeah. Pull your own memory. Like, see what.
Yeah,
what
you can
learn
do
from
that.
your-
You can create a memory image of your own computer and look at it just to see like, oh, if I run this, what happens? Like, so it's fun to mess around.
Basically, admin privileges to look at.
Yeah.
So you're gonna want admin privileges, but yeah, that's a super good exercise because, like, one, if you do have malware on your system, you might see something, but two, you can kind of get used to like what's normal on the system. So what's a normal service? What's a normal process that's running? You can kind of see what normal is, and then when you go back and you look at malicious crap, you got a better idea. Yeah, what's up?
When we run the volatility.py file with the image info parameter TACF, what file should we look at to see?
It'll be the data.lime file. .lime is the memory image, so just the path to wherever you have that. So yeah.
I think Lime is like one of the different formats.
Yeah, there's like a couple different formats for like memory image files, and yeah, .lime is just one of the common ones.
It's pretty cool when you're looking at like malicious activity.
Yeah.
But thanks, John.
Rate is low, apparently.
I'm just in the circle.
Yeah, it's saying I'm just in the circle.
Well, shoot. How about,
Let me tell them.
sorry, stand by, everybody. How about now?
Alright, it's up now.
I didn't do anything,
So, oh well. That's good, I guess. So yeah, a lot of organizations make assumptions on how things should work. And as an offensive security practitioner or someone who practices offensive security, or their job is to check those and make those proactive tasks, or take those steps to check those systems. It's our job to measure what should be and what is, right? So what is offensive security? I'm going to read off the slide. It's the assessment of a system's or organization's security posture through the perspective of an adversary. I like to take on the approach of a red team or someone or an adversary who's looking at a system as a target. So there are three major steps to this offensive security thing. It's research, assessment, and reporting. Reporting sounds really boring, but it's probably the most important part of this entire thing, because it's really what's delivered to the customer. It's how they get better, and yeah, it's our job to do the reporting. Research is an incredibly important part of it as well, because you actually have to know what you're doing to do your job. So why are we attacking in the first place? Does anyone have any ideas on like why someone might, instead of going and setting up another firewall or WAF, or going and setting up more access control, why are we attacking systems? Why are we doing this in the first place?
See your vulnerabilities, cover them up.
Okay, so why wouldn't like a blue team or a security engineer be able to do that?
Because you may create more vulnerabilities by securing the old ones.
That could be one case.
The red team is looking for problems that the blue team doesn't know exist.
Okay, so we're looking for vulnerabilities that a company might not be aware of. Yeah, that all good reasons. We're looking through the adversary's eyes, and it's really our job is a lot easier than the blue teams, where their job is to secure everything. They have to consider every single task, and a lot of things fall wayside because of that. Because it's a huge organization. It may be a very large organization with many people, with many forward-facing assets. So our job as a red team is just to find one thing that lets us get in. And that one thing might be the difference between like a $10 million for some hacker who gets in and compromises or leaks like the social security of all their customers, right? So our job is to find the things that would be leveraged by an actual hacker and go in and fix it and make companies aware of these problems. So fixing vulnerabilities that are realistic, as opposed to fixing all of the vulnerabilities. Additionally, we're there to help blue teamers get better at their jobs. So looking for an adversary within their system. A lot of companies get hit and they don't realize that they've been hit because they aren't aware of what the traffic looks like in the first place. So when we were looking through the memory forensics image with John, a lot of us didn't know all the services that were running, right? SMSS, CSRSS, service host, what are all these things? What does it mean? And it's easy to get lost in the weeds when you don't know what's normal and you don't know what's bad. So our team, yeah, what's up?
Isn't that what happened with SolarWinds?
That's a very complicated attack, but yeah, there was some like DNS traffic that probably could have gotten caught, and they blended in using that. They probably could have caught it there as well, amongst other avenues. But yeah, being able to tell what's normal and what's not normal, what malicious traffic looks like. Part of our job as a red teamer or a pen tester or offensive security practitioner is to train the blue team, work with them to get better at their jobs.
So that's why we're attacking. One of the reasons why. I've mentioned a couple of the jobs that are involved or that do this kind of line of work. Pen testers, there's red team operators, exploit developers, offensive security engineers, and several other jobs that are floating around. Yeah, so what is a vulnerability? That's an important term you're going to hear thrown around regardless of if you're doing offensive security or blue teaming or anything within security. What is a vulnerability? Why does it matter? Anybody? All right, what is a vulnerability?
It is an unsecure air access point.
Okay, so something insecure, right?
There was one today.
Yeah? What was the vulnerability? Oh, yeah.
Integer overflow. Oh yeah.
Integer overflows. Did anybody get the email from,
Yep.
was it Kelly? Kelly Price? Yeah, so there was a humongous vulnerability that was being leveraged apparently by NSO, which is like the Israeli intelligence agency. They created a zero-click exploit, which would basically allow RCEs, remote code execution, on Apple devices. So that's a lot of acronyms I threw at you. Vulnerability. It's a problem within the code that lets you create something, or potentially has a means for being exploited, right? An exploit leverages that vulnerability to get something that's not supposed to happen happening, right? So Trip, during one of the projects you were working on, can you explain like some of the exploits or vulnerabilities that you saw that could have been exploited?
Okay. So in our sort of computer network security class that I TDA, we just had a big project for sort of serialization and deserialization from Python classes into a format that's very similar to a simplified JSON, which is a text format used to represent things like key value pairs that can be considered like Python classes and stuff like that. If you wanted to, it's a way to like get things from an instance of running code into a format that can be sent over a network connection or into saved on a file or something like that, so that they can be restored at a later time. As you can imagine, there's a lot of that's a very common task in software development and network stuff, communications, stuff like that. And frequently it has to deal with just untrusted user input and stuff that can take all sorts of different forms of basically input strings that can be malformed maps and stuff that can cause, if the system doesn't expect it when it goes to translate that back into a Python class, it can cause sort of misinterpretations and stuff, which result in the wrong sort of output being loaded into Python, and
Mayhem.
as you can imagine, that causes, as that trickles up the sort of software stack, that can cause weird problems at the application layer once things actually manifest at that point.
So what was does anybody know what the problem was? Why is that a problem? Like, why is translating some encoded string and turning it into or encoding or decoding it, why is that a problem? Where's the problem in that chain of command or function? You might have heard it in Java 1 or Java 2, but it's input validation. it's accepting input from an unknown entity, right? So it's an assumption that your customer is going to send you what you expect, but you can't expect that, right? Because anyone can just send data down the line. It doesn't matter. Like, and if they figure out what's going on in the inside by fuzzing it, sending data through the line and figuring out how it functions, they may be able to exploit that. They may be able to get, I think, one function, if you would use an eval, they may be able to run commands on your system on the back end.
Code execution servers.
Yeah, so a threat would be when a scenario when someone does use an exploit and they go in and, well, it's the potential for someone using that exploit and then, compromising your systems. So how do we attack? There's something called the what is it? It's got several names. It's the cyber kill chain. I think MITRE or Lockheed Martin made it. Basically, it's they looked at how attackers were going through, and they kind of generalized how the attack played through. So first, we'll touch on it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to harp on this a little bit. Research is really important. So figuring out what your target does, what they have on their system, what kind of technologies they have, and doing that through something like scanning or OSINT, we'll touch on a little bit, checking their IP ranges using, things like ICANN or NSLOOKUP. Oh, shoot. Checking for vulnerabilities once you know what assets they have on their system. Things like that. That's how you begin to learn how to attack their systems, because some very, very smart people out there probably already created some code to exploit it, but you just have to figure out if they've got some kind of system that's vulnerable to an RCE or some otherwise. Red teaming and pen testing. These are two terms you're probably going to hear pretty frequently if you're interested in this kind of stuff. But in general, pen testing is a little more broad. You're not necessarily looking for 0 days in this situation. You're going to be working for your customer. You're going to be finding as many vulnerabilities as you can, and you're going to be reporting on those. So you're going to help them find the bugs in their systems, find the bugs or exploits in their systems, vulnerabilities in their systems. You're going to report on that to help them. Red teaming, on the other hand, is much more involved in some ways. You're going to be targeting a system in such a way that you're going to find a vulnerability, and you're going to start using that vulnerability to get into a system, to get into their organization, and see how far you can get, see if you can compromise their systems or what's important to them, and showcase why that's important, and showcase weaknesses in the entirety of their organizational system or their IT or whatever, so you can fix it. It's cool stuff. And another big difference is how loud you're going to be during those assessments. So pen testing, as you can imagine, is going to be really freaking loud because you're checking everything. Red teaming, ideally, you're pretending, or you are emulating or simulating an adversary. So maybe an APT, depending on the organization. They're not going to want to get caught. So your goal is not to get caught. So you're going to be quiet, sneaky. Here's some resources that are pretty popular. Hack the Box, we're going to be looking at a little bit. Hopefully we don't run out of time. I'll speed through. Vuln Hub is another one. It's got vulnerable boxes. And my slides have more memes. So here's the cyber kill chain. Who wants to do like a hands-on thing instead of going through slides? Okay, let's do that before we go on to the cyber kill chain. Let me see what else we have. Let me touch briefly on OSINT, because that's what we're going to touch on first. So OSINT, open source intelligence. Vicky's going to kick it off. Then we're going to go into hands-on exercise and showcase why this is important. Okay.
All right, OSINT stands for Open Source Intelligence, and social media is a gold mine. So it's whatever that you can find that's just out there. And then here we have some, yeah, it's got like websites and social media. And
Oh, I'll move that first. Sorry, go ahead. There it is.
okay. So it's finding information using like publicly available information. Charlie, Tripp, and I, we did a CTF, and it was about OSINT for helping find missing people, and we did that actually right like the same day as SecDec qualifiers. We were really tired, but we were able to find a lot of information and hopefully bring those cases closer to being able to find people. And so, here's some things that we can use for that. Social media is a gold mine. Alrighty. I think the slides are different.
We can switch over if you want.
Okay.
Oh, door's locked. Yeah, apparently do you have an HDMI? Okay, do you have a USB-C? You've got like an idea, but you have no proof that it works until like you make something that showcases it. A lot of times if you go to like DEF CON or B-Sides or another conference, they're showcasing proof of concepts. So they're showcasing things that they did and proof that they actually did. Right?
So it's important to like it actually works. This thing that I'm not crazy. This you can actually get into like their like.
Yeah, and then there's a really famous book called POC or GTFO or BAR GTFO. It's like a bunch of really smart security people. It's worth the read, or just a skim.
So we can find OSINT on websites with all the information on the slide, like who hosts it, like all the information that's on it. You can get a lot of information from websites and the About Us. Like it says on here. And then, like I said, social media is excellent. So you can look up the About Us and like look at the employees and then look them up. And so typically you do this first because it's in the reconnaissance phase. And then you can use this later in social engineering, which I'll be talking about later. So social media is awesome. You can find a lot of information about people that you can later use in social engineering to give yourself credibility. So, everyone has social media nowadays, and we all share probably more than we should, and so we can use this. And then the internet, so you've always heard like nothing's ever gone from the internet. Well, there's the Wayback Machine and Google Cache. I've definitely used a Wayback Machine before, and it's got like old versions of websites, so that's really helpful. So you can see like what it used to look like. Then we can retrieve deleted messages and look at posts that might be blackmail worthy. So, or things that can be exploited through social engineering. And Google Dorking is another way to find really good OSINT. So it's using Google searches with like special characters. So if you're looking for like something exact, you can put quotation marks around a string, and all of the things that Google pulls up will have that exact string. So I definitely use that a lot, not just OSINT, but whenever I'm doing research or just trying to find something. And then reverse image searching. So it's like you have an image and you're trying to find out where it's from. a lot of stuff nowadays. Use images and stuff without people's permissions, especially if it's not legitimate. So that's another way to kind of double check that, is to do a reverse lookup of the image. And you should always use more than one search engine for this.
We should do sourcing.game now. So there's a website that
It's under resources. We can come back to that social engineering. We might not get to everything tonight. I'd rather you guys do some hands-on stuff and like get to work on something and kind of make it a little more firm, less theory. So let's start out with sourcing games. All of these are great. Vicky, what's Trace Labs? Is that the thing
So
we did?
yes, that is the CTF where we were trying to find missing people using OSINT. So that was really awesome. And on my computer, I do have their version of a Kali VM that automatically comes with a bunch of excellent resources, like that they already have bookmarked on the internet, and their VM.
So yeah, let's work on some sourcing games. So we'll do a couple of these, and then we'll move on to intrusion. I think is the next one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I had it open in the first place. Hey Zach, could you drop that link in the Discord?
You want to switch back?
Yeah. Thanks, Vicky. Gary, actually.
Expert Googler.
Expert.
stalking, it's OSINT.
Yeah, so we'll try it out. Is the stream still working?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, so has everyone found the website? Everyone on it? Alright, so if you haven't found it, I went to sourcing.games, click play first game, click start game. There's a lot of clicks for an open site. And then we're here, right? They're like, hey, find information, find the password. So does anybody have any ideas on like ways you can find information about websites, things about like source of the websites? Any ideas on what we should do with this?
So what is the question again? What are we trying to do?
Let me go back. To view next URL, please enter your password from the website above. The content is password protected, so basically we're just given a URL. We're told, get a password. What's that?
just like in the source code.
Okay, how do we do that?
You right click.
Okay.
Go to view page source.
Okay, so for all the people on the line, we're looking at the view or the page source. This. Did we see anything? Oh, what is this?
Can you do that with F12 too? Or
Yeah, I believe we can. Let's see. So we'll try F12 or F. Well,
one of those.
there we go.
Is
You
that
can
the
open
same
that up.
thing or is that different?
It opens up like a debugger that has like.
It has so like
Probably do the inspector.
will walk through the source,
Yeah.
the HTML stuff, and you can look at it by like grouping and stuff.
Still not the same thing.
No, it's the same thing.
You get the same information, it's just more parsed out and structured with the F12 version versus just viewing the raw source code.
Yeah. Additionally, you can do like view source.
Yeah.
Is that colon or semicolon?
Colon right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small. But yeah, so you guys found the first password. They get harder, I promise. Okay. Go through here. All right. We're given another website. Oh, maybe not. My browser blocking it?
Yeah, it'll pull up the URL. That's where the block is.
Say what?
It'll pull up a URL where the block is, where like the block is in it. That's where you're supposed to go next. You just click on that, but it's not.
Oh. Can't spell. Well, I'm apparently dumb. Oh, I see. What? Oh. Struggles real. Alright. Private email address of the GitHub user is the password of the file. Download file. Okay. Any ideas?
Password cracking.
No, I don't know if it's password there.
This isn't ASCII, is it? This is like,
So,
That's like encrypted. It's not an encrypted Word doc binary. It's a garbled mess. Is what it is.
nope, that wasn't it. What is it?
so we need to open this in different ways.
Okay, how do we do that?
So we need to, well, at the bottom of the file,
Uh-huh.
it's got like some stuff like, saying that it's like an AES password and key value. That's a real email.
It's CBC. That's
Okay.
says salt on there too. Salt that.
Yeah, I just did a wget to get that photo.
That's probably a good idea.
Salt value.
Alright, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna copy the link.
That's what password cracking, right? Yeah, it's sort of more. Oh yeah, right. This is encrypted the passphrase. So it's a Word doc that's got like Microsoft Word encryption or whatever. So that is something with it. You would need it if you wanted to crack the password because it's just run a bunch of SHA-512 hashes with that is like the salt and whatever format they use. How long do you think that would take?
Oh, we were talking about the,
Can you open docx?
Really depends on that password. I don't think there's any like rate limiting stuff on this. So this spin count thing actually is probably the number of either the number of times it's like
Archive. What is that?
I guess it's saved.
the number of times they run
Where
the
does it, is it saved and downloaded?
actual encryption key derivation from the passphrase that you give it. So like you enter the passphrase and it hashes it once, it hashes it again, it hashes it
What?
again, and it keeps going 100,000
Whatever
times.
folder you're
And the purpose of doing that is just to like require computation with like a rate limit on the amount of times that you can brute force it. Because if you brute force it, then you have to like go through and
Oh, there we go.
passphrase
GitHub user.
hash it 100,000 times.
Download.
We have a comment in the chat.
Alright, what does the chat say? The chat says,
It's very hard to
this guy totally blew. So, for those of you who don't know, that is our former VP, hence the name.
That's DeMarcus. He's a really good dude. Hi, DeMarcus. Yeah, so we should have read the prompt. Private email address of the GitHub user is the password of the file below. So it's encrypted, like you guys said. What is the private email address of the GitHub user? So this is the GitHub user, Raphael Dalgard. Does anyone have any ideas on how you can get the private email address of this guy?
How did you even know that was the GitHub account?
Oh, I clicked this link.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It looks like something was picked up on wireless because it's encrypted in AES, and it's not. There's stuff that's off. That's like Microsoft Office, so it's probably just encrypted and decrypted.
Yeah, so we gotta decrypt it. That's true.
Scroll down a bit. There's a LinkedIn page
Oh,
or
okay.
a Stack Overflow page.
Okay.
That's the email on there.
Email me at Gmail.
Yeah, I went a completely different route. I found the email you used for the GitHub commit. That was not it. That's what I did, and I was like, okay.
It didn't work doing that? Or did
Well,
it?
it's a different email than that. So I think the challenge is
It would be a cool challenge if you had to like look at the logs on one of their repositories or something.
That's what I did, but it's a different, it's a different email. So you can be the patch notes on the GitHub commits, and it has the email.
Dalgard.
Dalgard@gmail.com.
Did not type it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's it. Did anyone get it?
I think you have to use it on a Microsoft Word.
Yeah, you have to use it on the
The Word doc.
for the file.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
You have to download the Word doc.
Microsoft Word or
Done.
something.
And then you open
Yeah,
it.
open it. You try to open it.
Let's see. Yeah, it's not clear in links.
Oh.
Oh.
Here. Alright. Okay.
So download the file.
I don't think it downloads right because mine knows you normally.
All right. Well, if you put that, this is what it.
What's up? Password sourcing guru. You can't tell. I probably should have tested this before I went through this demo. But you guys are doing great. Okay. Who wants to move on? Okay. Who's that? Anybody have any ideas on who this person is and their name? How would we find that?
Reverse image search.
Okay, how do we do that?
Just look up Google
Okay.
image search or somewhere.
Okay.
Go to the Google Images tab.
Yep. This one?
That works.
Okay. Not that one. Hold on. Okay.
Todd Voice.
Todd Boyce. Does that work?
It's surname.
Hmm?
It's surname only the password. So just his last name, all lowercase.
Okay. We'll do one more.
Chrome is seeing the password field.
Hello. Do what? Oh, we're just doing the.
If you're not doing anything.
Oh, we are.
Oh, you're teaching.
Yeah, I'll be there shortly. Okay.
Sorry, everybody was quiet.
We're working. All right. So, find the first name of the Stack Overflow user. It is a link. So, is his name Arson?
No.
Does that work? How do we do that? Any ideas? Search his face. Okay, we can try
View
that.
network profile. Maybe?
I would put that.
What could-
No.
You could go to his Twitter account.
Does that work?
That's
That's a good idea as well. What if this works? Herselhorst. Well, that doesn't seem right. Is that the dude from Josh and Drake?
it looks like.
Like his doppelganger. Okay, sorry. Where was it? Here? Alright. Who said go to his Twitter? Okay, how do we do that? Okay. Cole did
His first name.
You need his first.
his first name. Well, he is from Warsaw, right? I don't know if that's a common name. Okay. One more, or do we move on?
One more.
One more, okay.
We're on a roll now.
Okay. Okay, find the date. Oh, no. When this URL shortener was created. Password is month and day. So we're given this. Any ideas? Okay, let's see what it is. Like that? Okay, so it's LinkedIn.
I like his past experience. So I said oof.
Oh, seller wins. Yikes.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
scrolling down. I was like, oh, okay.
Any other ideas? Anything we should look for, maybe?
So, just Googling the term. Googling the term. Find
Wait, find what?
Find Bitly link creation date.
Find Bitly link creation date. Yeah, when you don't know where to go, Google. That's an important.
Just add plus to the URL.
Okay. So for those who didn't hear it, you just add a plus to the end. And it was created on April 17th, 2020. That's pretty crazy. All right. So what were you trying to do? Trying to do month and day. So it was April 12th, right? All lowercase. Does that work? Oh, wait, no. Got too much crap open. Sorry. Get this guy out of here. April 17th, sorry. Okay. One more, or do we want to move on?
I'm satisfied.
You're satisfied? Okay, we'll move on. So this is important, right? I mean, not all of this stuff you're going to use for like an assessment or anything like that, but being able to find information online is a super important skill, right? And you know, sometimes it's not the most obvious solution. Sometimes you've got to do a little digging on Google. Sometimes you don't know it. Sometimes you just have to add a plus after a Bitly link. But there's a bunch of cool tricks you can use to find information. So I'm going to go back to the slides.
I have a tangential statement.
Yeah.
If you're Googling, say for instance, you want to look at like Neil deGrasse Tyson being on his first name, type in Tyson, and then add a hyphen for negate. Take out. It negates any other search. So for example,
So let's try.
you type Tyson space hyphen.
Hyphen?
hyphen
Oh,
or
green's not
tag,
Okay.
and then Tyson Chicken, it'll only show results that don't have Tyson Chicken. Because you know Tyson Chicken's a pretty big company.
Mike Tyson.
It pulls up Mike Tyson, or it pulls up everything without the Tyson Chicken, basically. So you won't see Tyson Chicken unless you take off the hyphen is a negation, basically.
Right. So yeah, so that's an example of Google dorking. So we'll get it more into that with an OSINT like module. I'll call it that. When I don't know when we're doing that, but I think
The
Vicky.
end of the semester.
Oh yeah, so at the end of the semester we're going to be going over specific stuff like that. There's a lot of cool tricks like that you can do, but that's one thing you can do. So for anyone who didn't hear or didn't know, what you can do is you can actually exclude things from Google search to kind of restrict the scope of the results. So in this case, we didn't want chicken, but we wanted Tyson. So we got all the results that did not include chicken in like the information on those results. Cool. So get back to here. Social media. Oh yeah, LinkedIn is really like kind of scary, by the way, with what you can do. So we've done recon. We've figured out some information about our targets. Now, what do you do with that information? What can you do with that information, right? So you figured out maybe like their IP range. You figured out, how many systems are on their, how many hosts are on their system, at least forward-facing. We figured out what their websites are. You might have figured out, you can upload files here. But what do you do with that? How do you go from there? In some ways, one common approach is port scan. So port scanning is basically some services. Let's say you have like, okay, maybe this is too early to get into it. Port scanning basically looks at what's open on a host, right? So what services are running on a host and what you can kind of directly access as an outsider, like trying to poke a box, right? So that's port scanning. We'll go more into this later in the semester, or maybe next semester. Who knows? Additionally, you might find that there are no vulnerabilities. There's no services that you can really, or that you know how to exploit. So a really easy solution would be phishing. So you might send out, you might figure out, okay, this dude is on their network and he really likes golf or something like that. Or, I don't know, you might find a target that you can send an email and have them click a link which gives you a remote access to their network. So you might basically be able to get a foothold on their network through other means than actually targeting a specific system. Additionally, you could create an account. Maybe I won't use Google. They allow you to create an account and use their service in some way. So that might be a legitimate way to actually get onto their network and figure out from that point, are you able to escalate privileges? Are you able to pivot around their network? What can you do with that account? Additionally, they might just have default creds on some of their boxes or some of the hosts that they have on their system or in their organization. So you may be able to just log into something without having to do anything. So phishing, I think Vicky, did you want to go over this?
You can if you want to.
Okay, so does everyone know what phishing is? Yes, no, maybe? Can anyone explain it to me?
Send a lucrative email. You can win $5,000 if you click on this link. And you click on it, you just win.
Okay, so for the people on YouTube and Discord, what was said was basically someone sent an email saying, hey, you could win $5,000 if you click this link. That's an example of like a phishing email, and you might have received one of those yourself. Who knows? You've signed up for too many email services or services online. You might get some spam that might end up being some hacker sending out something to get some money, right, or get onto your system. So phishing is basically it's using kind of the human factor, like some enticement or some trick to get someone to do something, so that they click something or do something that you want. So it might be clicking a link or using like money or some financial gain to trick someone into doing something. But it also could be like you pretending to be their boss and saying, hey, this needs to be dealt with now, and if this isn't dealt with soon, we're going to lose the client. So please look at this and make sure that this is fixed soon. And then what ends up happening is, maybe they click that link, they download that thing, and they enable macros. You now have a remote access to their system, and you're not actually their boss, right? So that's an instance of phishing. That's a little more targeted. It's more along the lines of spear phishing, but that's an example. So, yeah, some of the ways that lead to this is social media, people leaking personally identifiable information that people can leverage against them. Yeah.
Isn't that doxing?
So doxing would be like exposing someone online, or like exposing where they live.
Releasing someone else's personal identifiable information.
Yeah, but good question. Yeah, and we may cover some of the things you can do with malicious files sometime. Yeah, there's several different types of phishing. The main type is kind of a general encompassing thing called phishing. It's just, it might be widespread. Someone like compromises an email server and then sends out like mass emails to all the people who are using that server to kind of get a message out and, do something like that. Spear phishing, like I mentioned before, is more targeted. It's looking for specific people and using information you find online to kind of target those people. Whaling is kind of it's even more targeted. It's targeting people who are really important. So it might be targeting the CEO or targeting a sysadmin who can give you the credentials you need. They're very specialized. And then smishing and phishing. If you take Sec Plus, you'll learn all these terms. SMS and video phishing. So it's like giving someone a call or sending them SMS messages. Yeah. So social engineering. It's closely related to all of this. It's kind of manipulating people. It's using the weaknesses and people to kind of get what you want. There are different opinions on social engineering, but usually, like in assessments, sometimes it's not even allowed because it's too easy. You can manipulate people to get into a system. There's no question about that. So it's important because people are the weakest link. You are the weakest link. So that's everyone is probably aware of what social engineering is.
So quick question.
Yeah.
I've heard of techniques where people will leave like flash drives out, like their park lot or something.
Yeah.
Is that like also a technique for phishing? Like leaving flash drives out in areas and hoping people will.
I don't know what you would classify that as. Yeah, so the question was leaving flash drives out as like an attack. So like malicious flash drives that might run commands that are plugged in. I think that was actually done, what was it, Stuxnet that did something like that where they dropped like flash drives and got across an air gap. I don't know what you would classify that as because you're kind of manipulating someone, or you're finding like, hey, someone's gonna pick this up and plug it in, right? Everyone's curious, right? You know, you're using that curiosity to kind of, you know, mess with someone, right? Web application hacking, looking at web apps, right? So a website, figuring out a file upload, like if you can upload something, if you can get access to a file that you probably shouldn't have access to. It's a whole different thing. It's very broad to say web app hacking. There's a lot of technologies. If you've ever had to do web design, there's a lot of technologies involved in it. Hopefully, we've got a friend, actually, DeMarcus, the guy who was talking to chat a little bit earlier. He's very good at this stuff, so maybe he'll be able to come in and teach us a little bit about it later this semester. But there's a bunch of different. There's something called OWASP, the Open Web something. Basically, they have not a framework, but they've got a list of like common vulnerabilities seen across the entire internet, right? So the things that are vulnerabilities that you see like everywhere and that are really bad. This is 5 of those. We'll hopefully get into this a little more. We're not going to go into it. They're there. If you're interested, go look up OWASP Top 10. You can see on the bottom left that's there. There's some technologies that go into that. We'll go into those details later when we actually get to this topic. But basically, proxies, so you can intercept traffic before it's sent, modify it, do that kind of stuff. And then like the protocols that go along with that. So HTTP and HTTPS are like ones you should probably be aware of. Yeah, let's do a little exercise or something. So who's heard of Hack the Box? Okay, who's popped the shell on Hack the Box? You made an account. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is we can do one of 2 things. So there's old boxes. So for those who don't know, Hack the Box has a bunch of operating systems or like hosts. I say hosts. Does everyone know what that is?
Host is somebody that's hosting services.
So it's like a computer, right? So it's like my computer is a host on this AU Wi-Fi, right? So this Mac is a different host. So they have a bunch of hosts with intentionally vulnerable systems on it, right? Some are easier to find the vulnerabilities than others. Some are focused on specific things. But we're going to be going into that website or onto that website, and we're going to look at one of 2 things. We can do a challenge. We can do the starting point. 3 things. Or we can do an old archived box that I know is a lot easier and maybe a good starting point. What does everyone want to do? First challenge? Okay. All right. So we're going to go over there.
It looks like that flash drive attack was actually against the US DoD, and that is why now you can't use removable media.
I think that's where I heard that from.
2008.
Crazy that it happened against the United States government.
Well,
Is this part of the Listen Challenge?
no, we've moved on, Trip. We're doing Hack the Box now.
Okay.
All right. So everyone go into your Kali machine and go to hackthebox.eu. It's a European website. Zach, if you would drop the link in Discord. So at one point, it was probably less than a year ago, you used to have to do a challenge to get actually onto this service. They've since removed it, which is kind of lame, if you ask me, but because it's a great introduction. But whatever, we can find something to work on, I'm sure. So, has everyone found the website? Maybe. Yes? Anyone not find the website? Don't be afraid. I don't bite. All right, so go to Hack the Box, create an account real quick.
System has a challenge to create an account.
It did.
It took it away.
Yeah. We got 20 minutes to do this. We're going to go over probably scanning because that's really important. You head out?
No, they're moving stuff upstairs.
Oh, is that what helped Dr. Springle on it?
Yeah.
I'll be up there after this. I am curious. Yeah, what's up? Oh, do they still have the challenge? Wait, what do you? Oh, it's Cali. Yeah, after this, I am kind of curious what you guys think we could do better. I'll be honest, because I know lecture's kind of boring. I understand that. So like, if you guys want to do more hands-on exercises, fine by me. Just let me know. We can move things around. But we just have, there's a lot to cover, so that's kind of why we're using slides. But if we can do the same thing with hands-on exercises, that's perfect. Just let us know.
I think it's a good mixture right now.
Okay. Cool. Appreciate it. All right. So is everyone good? Everyone got an account? Everyone ready to go? Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, does everyone know what a VPN is?
Virtual private network.
Okay. VPN. It sounds like no one is struggling with that. So to connect to Hack the Box, traditionally you use something called OpenVPN, which is like I think it is an open source VPN service. Kali has it by default, so you don't have to worry about installing it or anything along those lines. So to get to that, you've got to download like their VPN package. I forget what they call it. Click on your little profile. Let's see. You got to go to like the old version of the website, I believe. Shit. Oh, and I just had it too. Okay, you know what? We're gonna do starting point. I think that is a good spot. It has a different package. Sorry to you. We're gonna do this first. So click on starting point.
Is that under the labs?
Yep, under labs. After you're logged in, click on starting point. It says, hey, download VirtualBox. We recommend Kali or Parrot. Click next because we're already on that. You're gonna want to download their connection pack. Use USA if you want. What's up?
I think doing it on the VirtualBox, I have a different screen than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like this right here.
Okay. Click connect to starting point. Should give you like a drop down. Open VPN. Change that to whatever. Let's see what the options are. Yes, starting point. First one. Oh, sorry, that was EU. Yeah, you don't want to do this. VPN server.
Does it matter what protocol you use?
Not really. I would think either one's going to work fine. So for anyone having trouble online or here, if your screen does not, cybersecurity expert Quinn Michaels is on YouTube right now. I don't know who Quinn Michaels is. Sorry, Jack. But cool. Quinn is online. Yeah, for anyone who has a different looking screen, click on the what was the button?
It said the volume's a little low.
Oh, volume's a little low. How about now, Richard Oduro? Thanks, Jack. This is weird. Sorry, sorry. It's weird talking to people you can't see their faces. I think that's a little odd for me. Anyway, there's a drop down. Get the connection pack. You can. I would recommend using a US server. Yeah, Richard. Sorry about that. I'm standing next to the mic now. I'll keep walking through. I've got the connection pack downloaded, but if I didn't, I'd click this. It would have a save as, and it even shows you how to run the command in the first place, or to connect rather. So the next thing, I called it recon, or I think it was under intrusion for whatever reason. I made these slides like a while ago. It's really like network or host enumeration. So you're looking for open services using something called Nmap. So Nmap is a legitimate tool used for port scanning hosts. So you can find all kinds of information. Generally speaking, well, one of the most common things is for services. So if you look here, they are doing, what is SC? Is it the scripts command? Nmap tac SC space SV tac P port. So ports in this case is like, I think that's an environment variable. Doesn't really matter. They're running it on some ports, and the host they're looking at is 10.10.10.27. So that's what that is doing. There's way more you can do with this. You can increase the speed. You can do banner grabbing, which kind of gives you information on what service is running. It's a little lighter. You can run different protocols against it with like UDP scanning, or I can't think of anything else. UDP or TCP scanning is like the two most common types of scans. You can do different ways of connecting and checking services. We can get deep into Nmap if you're interested, but let's do some hands-on. So has everyone been able to download the connection pack? No.
Fatal error.
Fatal error? That sounds bad.
I did OpenVPN, starting point, username, that OpenVPN.
Okay, so when you download it, CD over to downloads, or tilde downloads. Let me blow this up for you. Is that better? Can everyone see that? Is that too small?
It's a little too small.
Richard says no. Okay. Is that better?
Yes, that is better.
One more?
One more. Yes, perfect.
All right. So if you do a tilde/download, tilde is like your home directory, and then /download, so the home download directory within that. Apparently, no such file or directory. It's actually downloads, so that's why I complained. You can autocomplete, and that'll take you to the actual directory. So ls will list all of the values in there. Does everyone know how to use Linux? Yes? Is everyone like, if not, we can slow down, or someone can help you, because it's okay if you don't. Okay. Mine, in this case, is the starting point. You can see I struggled a little bit here. Chmod. So does anyone know what this does?
Gives you changes file permissions.
Okay. What is a file permission?
First user, then group, then other.
Okay.
So you rewrite and execute, basically.
Okay. So if I wanted to see the file permissions on like a file.
ls-l.
Okay.
Or ls-l.
So all this, I think Ethan showed this last week, but for those of you who aren't here, this shows the different file permissions of each of the files. If you're interested, I would look up Chmod. It'll give you more details on exactly how this works. There are additional tags you can look at, like set GUIDs and set UIDs, that are really important later down if we're going into pen testing. Look at Chmod. It's really important. But yeah, you want to give execute, if I remember correctly, to the file. So cryptic starting VPN. So that'll give you executable, and then since we're already running as root, we don't need to do sudo. For those of you running as Kali, you want to do sudo open VPN and then like hand jam the rest of the file. So whatever the name of your file is, like the username or whatever, you would do open. When I say hand jam, I just mean type in. Sorry. Old habits die hard. Okay, and then that'll connect you, hopefully. And we are connected. So, everyone good? No? Yes? No?
I'm thinking my file may not be the correct one. Because I have starting point and then my username and
Okay. Okay. So, let's resolve that. Once we're there, we'll do a quick scan to see how to do it. And
sorry to slow you down.
no, you're good, man.
This is my file. I already gave it a read right.
Everyone good? All right, we're gonna do a quick scan. So let's see. Wrong window, sorry. So blah, blah, blah. If I wanted to check if a host is like on a network, what would I do? Like, and I didn't want to use Nmap. What's something I could do? Ping it? Yeah, that is exactly the answer I wanted. So I don't.
Do you have to run the network in the background and create a new terminal?
Yeah, you're gonna want to run that. So we are on the network. You can see the host is up. We can hit it. We can ping it. It's there, right? All right. So if I know I want to use Nmap, I want to see what services are running, but let's say I don't know how to use it. What's one way I might get information about it? John?
TAC help.
Okay, TAC help. Man. Okay. So what is man?
Basically just a command that opens the man. If it has it, most of them have it. So you put the command out there, it opens the whole description.
Okay. So man. Oh, this is tiny. Sorry. Hold on. So tiny. Is that better? Can everyone read that?
Yeah.
Okay. So man Nmap. So this is a man page, and as the gentleman in front, the front said, it gives you information about the tool you're trying to use. So network exploration tool and security port scanner. That's what Nmap is. If you use the down arrows, you can kind of slowly parse through this. If you're looking for something specific, you can do like a slash and then like a word that you're looking for. So you might do like UDP, and then you click enter. It'll take you to that, so you can look for the switch for that. If you were looking for like the next one, like examples of it, you do in. It'll take you through each iteration of that. Man is very important. TAC help is also very important, or TAC H, if you don't want to scroll through this. So nmap TAC H will give you like an abbreviated version of that.
And
It's
I also think tech info works as well.
TAC info. Not in this case, but yeah, I think with some tools you can do that. Get used to the terminal. It's super useful for everything. Linux is awesome. So the first scan I'm going to do is I'm going to do an aggressive scan. So the aggressive scan in this case is enable OS detection. So it'll detect the OS that's running on the host. It's going to do version detection, so versions of the services that are running. It's going to do script scanning. It's also going to do trace routing. So script scanning, Nmap has a bunch of scripts that it runs against it for like vulnerabilities or all kinds of crap. I would encourage you to go look at script scanning on Nmap. It's super cool. The Nmap's super powerful. Trace route basically finds the route to the host that it's taking from your host to that one. We're sitting on the network, so there shouldn't be too much in between. Maybe a router or something along those lines. But so if we wanted to do that, can everyone ping this? Just out of curiosity, can everyone hit this host?
So your IP?
No, the .27. So you got it.
I'm thinking as well.
Can everyone like touch it? Okay, cool. So we're gonna do like TAC A, TAC V, so that'll give you like very, very, very verbose results. Why not? Then we'll just do like this, and we'll do, what is it, like top ports 1000. I think that's it.
Did you space in between the top ports 1000?
Yeah, so let me break that down. All right, so can everyone tell me what I just did with this command?
Aggressively search the operating system with the IP address.
Uh-huh.
The host.
Okay. What does
Yeah.
top ports do?
It scans like the top 1,000 ports and sees if they're open or not.
So when you say top 1,000 ports, do you mean like 1 through 1,000, or what do you mean?
I'm not sure. It's either that or it's like maybe the top 1,000 most popular.
Most common.
Most common?
Manual pages.
According to the man page, it says what now?
Scan number most common ports. So scan 1,000 of the most common ports.
Okay. So does anyone have any ideas on why I might have done that?
Because you don't want to have to scan all the really irrelevant ports, but you want to see what services are in and that could possibly be useful to you.
Okay, that's a good reason. So like maybe I don't care about all. I really don't. Like honestly, I don't. But it also makes it a lot faster because we're doing a pretty aggressive scan. So we're doing a bunch of crap on this host. So for each one of the ports, we might be establishing a TCP connection. So or in some cases maybe like more than one. So that can take a lot of time if we use like 65,000 different ports. I want this to go pretty fast. So there's another way we can make it go faster, but let's look at the output. So there's a bunch of extra stuff that was included in the top. It doesn't really matter too much, but you can see it. The reason there's so much of this is because it's very, very verbose. If we hadn't included that, we're almost out of time. We wouldn't have seen it quite as much, but we see like port 135, 139, 445, and 1443. We also see a certificate included. honestly, I haven't. TCP/IP fingerprint. We see, here's the trace route. We got 2 hops. Let's see. They've got a Microsoft SQL Server 2017 running on with an open port on 1433. Looks like. So we got one of the services that's running. Okay. There are the IP addresses. So we did hop through a single IP address, 14.1, which is a router, and we hit that one right there. Is there any reason, like, if I were to ping Google or traceroute Google, how many hops do you think we've done? Does everyone know what a hop is?
I think it's like 16, 12,
16.
Is it hop is when you hit a router?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the number of hosts. So each hop is like a host that you're hopping through. And in many cases, it's a router,
I
right?
would guess maybe like 10.
10. It was kind of a trick question because it's going to vary. Like the internet's constantly like shifting around, but more than 2. So with that, we're probably going to close. It's already 7 p.m. I'm tired of talking. Go play with Nmap. Go play with Hack the Box. There's like tons of really cool boxes on here. Go play with it. You've now got a connection to it. You know how to connect to it. When you're done, Control-C or exit the VPN because you don't really need to be connected to this all the time. Yeah, go play with this. Get familiar with Nmap. It's your friend. It will tell you a bunch of information. And next week, we're going to finish up the slides briefly, and then I forget what's next on the calendar. Crypto. Crypto's cool. And Trip's very good at crypto. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we finish this up and then move immediately to crypto, or do you want to finish up these slides? They're still very high level and go immediately to crypto. What do you want to do?
What all is left of the amount covered?
Let's see. Yeah, we put together quite a few slides. Exploitation, persistence. So it's stuff we won't really get hands-on stuff with just yet. Privilege escalation is pretty cool. We might be able to do that. Lateral movement. Does everyone know what lateral movement is? We'll cover stuff like that. We're missing 6. What? Denial of service, exfiltration, and then done. So not much.
I think we should just finish off the last slide.
Do you guys want to?
Already there.
Do you guys want to finish it off now? Or do you want to go home? It's late. I can finish it up if you want.
Oh, can we finish it up next time?
Yeah.
I don't want to miss the bus.
Okay. Everyone cool with that? All right. With that, thanks. Thanks everyone for coming out.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, man.
It looks like 6 is obfuscation.
Obfuscation. Why is that missing?
I feel like there's an obfuscation somewhere, but I think it might have gotten moved.